Hello, this is Dr. Hassan Abdullah with the course Web Applications Programming. And the topic which we are covering is introduction. And this topic basically covers all the 15 topics, touches upon the 15 topics which constitute the total course. And since this is a large coverage, so topic 1 is divided into three subtopics 1A, 1B, and 1C. And in 1A, we covered the first five questions and answers, which were the five concepts. And this topic 1B, we will cover the next five questions and answers, which are the concepts. And in 1C, we will cover the remaining ones. So this course and all these video courses, they are developed using the personalized learning management system. And these are the features which I will be very briefly discussing with you, which facilitates the learning process. Has been specifically developed for you, and this entire course uses that platform for your facilitation and for your process of learning. Now, this learning management system has many powerful features, and those features are explained in the videos, and those videos are available at the address given in front of you. Or you can go to YouTube and type my name, Dr. Asan Abdullah, and it will take you to my YouTube official channel and where these videos are available, these six videos, and these videos are also available on Canvas. So what are the features which are of benefit to you as compared to the traditional approach of the ancient slides, which are static, which are passive, which are not very interactive, and so on? First of all, that the entire content is searchable. All the courses, everything is searchable, and there is basic search, there is advanced search also. And unlike the conventional and the old and the ancient slide based techniques, which everything is fixed, so if there is certain visual disability, so the users can set the font type, the font size, the font color, the line spacing, and the background, so as to get the most out of it, which is not there in traditional slides. And the contents are presented in a hierarchical manner. So you have the statement, then you have the bullets, and then you have the explanation of the bullets, and then you have the references, and you have the diagrams and everything. And when you use it, you will get to know how powerful and useful this is. And of course, since this is an online system, this is like not a static run of the mill kind of a system, old and ancient. So there are online exams which are online graded, there are online solutions available, there are explanation available, track your progress, identify your weaknesses also. And of course, this is mobile friendly also, so you can rotate your mobile phone and things will get adjusted. And you can of course work on a laptop environment also, or a PC environment. And of course you can also track your progress, so that you don't have to note what you have done, what you are going to do, and what you should have done. And all of this is shown in these six videos, right? So I would strongly urge you to get to know the system. Now, the other big benefit of this method of teaching is the question and answer based approach. Unlike the traditional approach in which the slides were shown, a topic was shown, then a subtopic was shown, this is a proactive approach. So I'll be asking questions from you, and that basically triggers the process of thought that is engaging also. And of course, that engaging generates ideas in your mind, and it helps you assimilate the knowledge, it helps you understand the knowledge, and that is adaptability also. Because if we are not stuck with a certain single statement which comes over and over again, we are coming with different questions and different answers. And of course that triggers the process of thought also. And human beings are very good at thinking as compared to machines, and we should be polishing on those thoughts. So this approach of these learning management system, and the approach of question and answer, that is applicable throughout all the videos in this course. And then the topics which are covered. So this is the list of topics, and one of those topics is introduction. And this lecture basically covers all the topics which are listed before you, and just give you an overview. All right. And within that topic of introduction, there are 14 questions and answers. So the first five will be covered in 1A, the second five in 1B, and the rest in the 1C. So this is how this course is organized, and I'm sure that you will have a wonderful experience, and it will be beneficial for you. Now, we don't stop here. This is just a list of questions and answers, just to give you an idea, right? Now, we will go to the actual supplemental website and we will click on each of these questions. And each of these questions has bullets and explanation and diagrams and references. So let's now move on to the supplemental website. So now we move on to the next set of Q&A. So let's move ahead. So, what is the relationship between online businesses and web applications programming? So, as I mentioned before, my approach towards this course is not to have only the programming aspect, but to look at the big picture also, which helps you. So, basically, web applications, okay, they are the digital foundation of an online business. There is no online business without web application programming. And what that web application programming does, okay, is that it provides a platform which is interactive. So the user can provide his or her queries, his or her input, and get the corresponding outputs. Perform search, make selections, register, submit something, right? Like feedback or comments, and of course get corresponding result also. So these things basically are a must for an online business. And then is the data management. So when these interactive platforms are nothing much of value without working with data. For example, there's an online examination system. So of course the questions come from the database, and the user interacts with those questions in the student's perspective, and those questions are graded, okay, in the at the middle tier or the second tier, and the scores are then stored in the database. Data management. And these systems have to be scalable. Why these systems have to be scalable? Because as their usage grows, as the amount of data which is processed grows, okay, these systems should be able to take on that load. So the scalability is a must for online systems, because those online businesses are not limited by traffic on the road. They are not limited by a storm warning, right? So, and the audience is global. So these systems need to be scalable, and it's continuous improvement, continuous innovation, right? Some time back, maybe like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, things which used to be seem like magical, I would not like to name them, like they are history now, or they are close to become history. And in this domain of online businesses, new things are coming up. So there is a continuous innovation, because there is new technology, there are new tools, and they need people with new ideas. So details are given over here. Okay, so we have so you can read all those details. All right. So this is basically the key over here. These three layers. So what is the significance of HTML and CSS in web applications programming? Now, if somebody thinks that HTML is ancient, or somebody thinks that CSS is outdated, that somebody has to rethink. Okay, because the benefit of these technologies is that the HTML is the backbone of the web content. So whatever we have, okay, that runs on the structure, that runs on the skeleton, that runs on the chassis, which is made by HTML. Okay, so this is the back, and on top of HTML everything is built. On top of HTML everything is placed. Okay, and what is among that everything is CSS, cascading style sheet, because they assign the color, they assign the shape, the font, the form, and the interactivity, right? And they add beauty to the front end. Okay, so HTML and CSS in user experience, they provide the user a very engaging experience, because the more you are able to engage for a longer time, okay, the more is your organic traffic is going to increase. and they result in responsiveness. Okay, you have a responsive website, and for example, if you see, this is responsiveness. You can see I move the cursor and it changes the colors. This is CSS. Okay, this is CSS at the back end. And of course, integration with other web technologies. So HTML is the backbone of the web content. So when this backbone is in as an interesting analogy, let me show you a picture, right? So this is HTML. This bone is the HTML, and on top of the bone you have the muscles. Okay, this can be regarded as CSS, and on top of that muscle is the skin, and then there are things, okay, the skin color also, texture of the skin also, which have their own corresponding analogies. So without bone, without HTML, the CSS is not going to hold. All right. So this is the point I was trying to make. So it provides the user experience. Okay. So how the content is presented, making it easier for the users to navigate and interact with the web page. And of course, the user gets a feeling that the website is engaging the user. Okay. So create appealing designs, improving the engagement. Okay. And reducing bounce rates. Bounce rate means that how frequently people come to your website and how frequently they leave. Okay, that's the bounce rate. Not very precise, because this course is not about those technologies. We'll talk about it maybe in search engine optimization towards the end of the course. And they provide responsiveness, accessibility. Okay, for example, HTML provides semantic elements like header, nav, and footer. Okay, these basically help, okay, users with who have visual impairments, because these tags provide necessary information for tools which are for visually impaired people. Okay, and of course, this makes web application accessible not only to improve the user experience, but compliance with legal and ethical standards also. All right. And it integrates not only with CSS, but HTML and CSS integrate with PHP, Node.js, JavaScript. Okay. And what is the total impact? Cohesive stack for creating modern web applications. Cohesive stack. You have the bone, you have the muscle, maybe you have the fat over here, then you have the skin, then you have the skin color, the skin texture, and so on. So HTML provides the form structure, the bone. CSS style is for better visual appeal, maybe the muscles. JavaScript enables form validation and dynamic interactions, maybe the movement of the skin. And PHP processes the form submission on the server side, what goes in the mind. Okay, decision making. So these are very powerful features. So we have been mentioning, I've been mentioning a lot about databases. So what is a database system? Okay. So, and what are the main components? So this is like a very big page, and there's a lot of stuff here. And for example, security mechanisms are going to be covered in the towards the end of the course, and users and applications are not really covered. So this is basically, this course is not about databases. So I will very briefly touch upon these things. So what is data? So basically, data is the raw material, right? Numbers, text, okay, dates. This is all data, right? But we don't store images or multimedia files as you would expect to be stored. So the end of the course application which you will be developing as part of the course, where we'll have images and we can have videos also, multimedia files also. Those are not going to be stored in a database. What we'll be doing is that we'll be storing them on the web server, and within the database we'll have the address or the links to those sources. And of course, that data could be anywhere also. For multimedia files, it could be anywhere, but we'll have the URL, they will have the address from, and of course I'll show you that how you call that data or the images or those multimedia files, and how you present them in a web page in a very attractive manner. So then we have the database management system, okay, which is the software which provides an interface, which provides the ability to create queries and queuing. Okay, and there are many databases, and all of them are wonderful databases. And if not, I have worked with most of them, if not all of them. So, for example, MySQL, Oracle database, Microsoft SQL Server, MongoDB, DB, and so on. So, database is a structured collection of data and organized and stored. Because if you dump the data, for example, I give you the analogy of a library. If you just dump the books in the library, not only the books get destroyed, okay, by the mere weight, all right, or they are just like papers, the pages are torn by the pressure of the weight. It is next to impossible to find a book. So a database is not a jumble of data, but it's a structured collection of data, which is organized, which is stored in a very efficient manner, which has indexing also, which is not part of this course. Why you do all of this? For efficient retrieval. Efficient means that you can retrieve most in less time. And for data manipulation, you can change it also. For example, a person changes his or her password, or in a banking system, a person makes a deposit and that is reflected. And it consists of tables and rows and columns and relationships. When we say relationships, we are looking at the relational model. And a database is the main repository. It is the main place where all the data is stored, and not only stored, but it is organized. And how it's organized according to a certain schema. And we'll be looking at the relational schema or the relational model. There are other models, but that is not part of this course. So schema is how these things are organized. It provides a blueprint for how data is stored and organized. So there's the hierarchical schema, there's a network schema, and there can be other schemas also, which we not be covering in this course. That is covered in the database course, which I also teach. So then is a DBA. DBA is a very powerful person. DBA is a know-all person. DBA has access to everything and each and everything, and uh, responsible for managing and maintaining the database system and everything. So in times of, say, for a company is in the process of layoffs, probably DBA is the last person who will ever leave that organization. It's a very, very key person. And there are certain certifications, and you not need a lot of experience to become a DBA, and they make a lot of money also. So users and applications, there are users and there are interfaces also. So, but the way we'll be developing the applications, we will make our own interface, not that is provided by the DBMS. And there's a query language. SQL is the structured query language, which I'll talk about in the next Q&A. And it can perform many operations. Okay, and for example, it can create tables, it can insert data in the tables, read them, filter them, sort them, arrange them, group them. Okay, and many many things which I'll show you. And there's a whole topic on SQL. And then there are security mechanisms to protect data from unauthorized access. Okay, manipulation and disclosure. So this unauthorized access could be, say, for example, certain pages or certain features or certain facilities or certain operations which may or may not be allowed other people to do. So these are protected. Okay, so they are protected through passwords. The passwords are also encrypted. I'll show you how that happens. And then is the data model. So there is the different models, and we'll be only limiting ourselves to the relational model. Okay, it is just to show you that there are other models also. So how does this data base looks like? So we have this user here, and there are two types of data. One is the data itself, for example, the customer data, and then is the database, then is the metadata. The metadata is the data about how many tables I have, what is the size of those tables, how many rows and columns are there, how much the table is filled with, what is the space taken by the table, how many rows are there, and so on. And then the data itself. And then we have the database access language, is the SQL in this case, and through that SQL we access the data. And the access is through the software, which is the database management system, DBMS. Okay, and the data is actually residing on the hardware. The hardware could be a hard disk, right? And that hard disk is why it's called hash, because the platters are fixed as compared to the floppy disk, which were ancient stuff. And then we have procedures through which we can access, the user can access it, and the standard ones also. So if you want to know more, here are some references. So what is a SQL or structured query language? So this is the database access language, or the SQL, structured query language. So SQL stands for structured query language, and it was developed by IBM uh, many decades ago. It is very popular, and it has become a standard. This is an ANSI standard, and it is used extensively. So in the domain of web applications programming, you there is no way you can be successful without knowing SQL. And if you intend to be in the domain of data sciences, you still need to know SQL a lot. SQL is just the bread and butter of databases and for the web application programming. So why this is the case? Because manage and manipulate relational databases. So without SQL, you cannot work with your relational database. Okay, and there are many commands. Okay, what are those commands for inserting your data in the tables in the database? Updating, for example, you make a purchase and it's updated. You make a phone call and it's updated, and you click somewhere and that is updated. So rest assured that if you are you can, as a matter of fact, this nothing challenge in terms of technology, that whatever happens on your web application, you can record everything. Okay, so that gets inserted in the database, and of course you can delete also from your data. So there's a certain set of commands which can do certain things, and they have the abbreviations, and they call as sub languages. For example, DDL, data definition language, DML, data manipulation language, and so on. I'll just talk about them. And SQL is a declarative language. Okay, and it is almost an international standard. So what we have, these commands, for example, DML, definition language, is create, alter, and drop. You create a table, you alter a table. Alter means that, say for example, you create a table and you say that this is the data type and I want to change it. So I want to change the this from character to I don't know, something else. So that's alter. And drop is that you drop the table altogether. So that is the data definition language. Then you have the data manipulation language, okay, that handles the data inside. So data control, when you grant and revoke, these are the privileges which you give. Okay, transaction control, commit, rollback. Commit means that it's an atomic operation. Atomic means that once it starts, either it completes 100% or it does not. Okay, so we'll not go into more those details because this course is not about databases, but you should know about create, alter, drop, and other queries also, which I will cover. Other commands, as a matter of fact. So SQL is a declarative language, which means that they users state what they want done, and the database engine determines the best way to execute it. The point is that you don't actually create a database using a high level language, like say for example C++, or you can do that, as a matter of fact, you can do that. But when we are using SQL, okay, you don't write the code how that thing should be done. SQL does that. Okay, so this is in contrast to procedure languages, where you have to spell out each and everything step by step. So your work is done, you are out of it. You should be thinking about using DDL or DML or DCL or TCL, okay, instead of writing the code and debugging it. So most relational database systems, including this support SQL. Okay, and some have their proprietary extensions which have more features, and this we've already seen. So this is the backend, the database, the tier, or the third tier, and between the front end, which was HTML and CSS, and this database, or the third tier, there is something which is the middle tier, and which is the where the logic is there. Okay, logic means that what is the process of doing something. Okay, so what is the relationship between PHP and web applications programming? Well, PHP is server side language. Server side means that it runs at the server. Okay, it runs at the server. It means that the code is not accessible to the end user, right? For example, for a client side, for like HTML or JavaScript or CSS, you can access the code in the web page if you view the source. For the server side language, the code is running at the server. Okay, and that server generates the HTML. So what you see on the screen is the HTML generated by the server. It's not the HTML static one, because your browser cannot differentiate it's static or dynamic. It knows just HTML. That's about it. So this is used, PHP is used for generating dynamic content. Dynamic content means, say for example, there's a clock on the page. That clock is usually not going to be made using PHP but using JavaScript. Okay. Now say for example you are creating charts. Charts can be created, or graphs can be made using JavaScript, but one can manipulate that JavaScript using PHP to have dynamic charts which are reading data from a database, which I'll show you. Okay, and you will be also making all of these fancy things. Not only fancy but very useful also. And it provides, the PHP also provides the database connectivity. Through PHP we connect to the database. Okay, of course SQL runs on the database, but that SQL is embedded within PHP. SQL is embedded within PHP, and the call is made from PHP using SQL, and it retrieves the data, and based upon the data retrieved then you have the SQL operations. Okay, say for example I log in using a username and password. Now this request goes as a select command to the SQL, through SQL to the database server, and it may or may not return any rows. So if the and using PHP account the number of rows returned. So if the number of rows returned is 0, it means the account does not exist. So I will, using PHP, I will generate an error message. Your username and password is incorrect. This is how it works. And it's an open source ecosystem, all right, and foundation for content management system. Content management system, say for example, like the WordPress runs entirely on PHP and powers 40% of websites globally. See, so that's why I have selected PHP for this course. All right, and trust me, PHP is fairly simple to learn, fairly simple to learn, and it's not very difficult. And this should not have been here, but I'll remove it. All right, so let's move on to the next set of question and answers.